video where they were set on fire and cars on the street where there were gunshots and just to press their point home. And you ask yourself, if this happens, some people will give some a threat, the government will sit quiet. And these are the government people who go about with the retinue of police escorts. And they want you, as ordinary human beings, to go to the street. They will just give you order, go to the street, open the shops and all. You find out that each time the governors come out to say, go back to the market, open the shops, that's the day nobody will appear. Because they know that once you try this, these people that are giving these threats will come out to make good their threat. So they have to begin to really do something to assure the people that they are in control. Because this is a nation only where, what they call it, non-government actors give orders and the whole nation will catch cold. But when the government itself gives order, people hardly, they will be weighing whether it's true or not. There are days they say it's a sit at home for clean up exercise. And people will wake up, look through their window, if they see their neighbor going, that's it.
Well, Chris, is it because of what the governors do or say, or what they don't do, or what they don't say? Because if the governors equip the agencies or get the agencies to, patrol the streets during, those sit-at-home, whatever orders, people will be, want to come out because, of course, they see the security operatives.
Exactly. I used to stay in a place where, when the governors, what they do, they would protect only their own areas with, and make sure that government house is secured, no-go area. They block all the roads that pass there. Yeah. But the people that are not in government house have to provide their own security.
Well, thank you.
I'm just saying, only God knows.
Thank
but they know what is
much,
wrong,
Chris.
and they know how to solve it.
Thank you very much. We do appreciate you coming to the studio to have this conversation with us. Your insight as well is always very insightful. So thank you very much.
Passionate.
Always passionate. Very,
Chris.
very passionate, yes.
Passionate, Chris.
Well, we'll go on a very short break. When we come back, we have an interview lined up for you. It's going to be an interesting one. I want you to stick around. You're going to have a lot of fun with it. So see you after this break. Welcome back. This is still New Day on Signature TV. I have a story for you. The president of Signature TV, Vin Martin Obiora Elo, is appealing to wealthy members of the society to offer helping hands to the poor and less privileged members of the society. Elo made the appeal when he granted audience to members of the Rectorate Club, Zone 10, ENUGU, at the corporate headquarters of Signature TV, Tinker's Corner, ENUGU. He said the present hardship in the country demands that those who have the means should begin to reach out to those who are finding it increasingly difficult to feed themselves and their family.
Because there are no people to help or he can't find them. Yeah. Then they're not being sincere. No. Because everywhere you look, especially at this time, you see so much suffering. You see so much suffering. A lot of people are not able to have 3 square meals. A lot of us can't have 3 square meals. A lot of people don't go to school. A lot of students don't go to school like 5 days a week anymore. That's why we are calling on well-to-do Nigerians. We can make life a little better for those that can't take care of themselves. And I encourage you, younger people, you have started well, please don't give up. Of course, you can't solve all the problems, but they say little drops of water makes an ocean.
The Signature TV boss thanks the club for recognizing his modest contribution to the society, emphasizing that his scholarship scheme over the years were designed to equip the youth in his community to become responsible and productive members of the society. The leaders of the delegation and Assistant District Retract President, Zone 10, Enugu, Dr. Kingsley Chukwukewu, praised Vin Martin Elo for his act of philanthropy over the years, especially his scholarship scheme, which has run for decades. Chukwukewu said the activities of the Signature TV president align with the key philosophy of the Rotary and Retract Club, which focus on service to humanity.
Bringing every other little idea, every other little contributions everyone can give, then you see that things begin to change because everyone is doing the bits they can. So that is why we really appreciate what you are doing on your own, and we are telling you to just keep on the good work, and we also pray that God keeps enlarging you so that you do even more.
The visiting Rotaract used the opportunity to visit the visiting Rotaract used the opportunity of the visit to present an award for community service to Vin Martin Obiora Elo. Well, Professor Humphrey also passed away on the 24th of October 2024. Journalist Vin Martin Obiora Elo, who had the privilege of interviewing Professor Humphrey Noso, described him as a rare Nigerian whose life was an embodiment of integrity, humility, and excellence. Elo, who featured on Signature Morning on Signature TV, said the late chairman of the National Electoral Commission was a patriot who put his life on the line for the love of the country. He emphasized that his first interview with Humphrey Noso, which he published in his book, gave him an insight on dreams the late professor had for Nigeria, the challenges of the African continent, and the need for homegrown solutions to Nigeria's myriad of problems. Veteran journalist Vin Martin Obiora describes Humphrey Noso as a rare Nigerian. Well, it was an interesting interview we had with Vin Martin Elo. He gave us a lot of insight on Humphrey and the life Humphrey lives. Having to have a first-hand experience of interviewing him, not just once, but I think quite a number of times, was really an interesting one.
Absolutely. When I heard of his passing, what just dropped out of my mouth was, well, no harm meant, but I said they don't make technocrats come politicians, like this anymore. The man was an epitome of integrity,
Yes.
forthrightness, and he fought for what he believed. You know what they say? If you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. And he was one man that I can say that he stood for what he believed in, and he has that, you know, he has posterity to remember him, of course, for that.
Well, you can find that interview on our YouTube channel on Signature TV, so do well to go there and watch it. Moving over, we're going to the retrospect of the week. And on Monday, we had an interesting conversation about gender-based violence. And we had Lady Jane come into the studio to have this conversation with us, give us insight on what we should know and what we should not, and things we should learn and things we should work on. Do take a listen. From statistics, we see that 1 in 3 women experience physical or sexual violence worldwide, and this is coming from the World Health Organization. So we want to talk about gender-based violence, how it has affected us, the people, not just the men, not just women as well, but men as well, yes. And then we don't get to hear more conversation about how it affects men, but then of course it does affect men, and then we're here to give a voice to the voiceless. And in the studio with us is Lady Jane Kalu Ndukwe. She's the founder, Genuine Womanhood Initiative Pathway to Nation Building. Good morning, Mom.
Good morning, Jason.
Good morning.
Thank you.
It is amazing to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming into the studio this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Now, so gender-based violence. I mean, to somebody who is just watching and is wondering what could be that, and somebody who has probably not experienced this thing, and then feels like, I don't think it's much more of a force like that. What do you have to say about gender-based violence?
Okay. So gender-based violence is any harm that comes to any gender. Now, usually it's the female gender, but we also know that men also face gender-based violence. So any harm that comes, and this could be physical, which most people know, hitting somebody, maiming the person. It could be sexual, which includes rape, molestation. It could also be emotional, you know, which includes isolation, you know, rejection, you know, things like that. And then psychological, you know, psychological when you are looking at talking down on someone, undermining the person, and causing the person to lose her self-esteem and confidence. Then we also have other issues such as female genital mutilation. We also have trafficking, human trafficking. Then there's also, I'm trying to think of the other one, but much of it has to do with control. You know, when there's an imbalance in power and not adequately recognizing the other gender for who she really is. Because why I'm saying she, because majority of cases it's been the female gender. Yeah.
So what are the factors, or would I say social, because I know we will have some social factors, some cultural factors, some economic factors that might contribute to this persistence violence. Could you mention some of these factors that, you know, trigger violence or gender-based violence between the upcoming generation?
Okay. The first one I want to look at is culture and religion, you know, which is so embedded in our society, especially, I don't want to say African, you know, but I'm just going to use Nigeria, you know, as a case study. So we're so religious as a people, and we are so deep in culture. Now, I believe that culture should evolve, you know, because there are many things that have evolved, but this particular area of control doesn't seem to have evolved, you know. So, and it's so deep in our culture, you know, where the woman is seen as a second-class citizen, you know, and it starts from the home. You know, you have a male child, a female child. You know, you have cases where a woman has female children, and she's still regarded as not having children. You know, and in some cases, I've heard cases where she's been sent away just because she didn't have a male child. Then when she has a male child, you know, the male child is revered. You know, so much is given. So the male child, right from inception, already sees himself as superior. So he looks down on the sister, you know, and he looks down on other females because already in his subconscious mind, he's thinking, I should be the king. Yeah, you can be the king, but she's also the queen. You know, so that is so deep in our culture. And when you speak with older people, you know, I mean, I remember in my own case, because I also suffered, you know, from gender-based violence.
Okay, could you narrate your audio?
Honestly, that is. I wanted to ask
We
that.
want to learn
okay,
from
wait.
that and how you coped.
Before you continue your train of thought, I wanted to ask, what was the motivation for you to create the Genuine Womanhood Initiative? What was that experience you had that said, okay, no, I have to do this and I have to give a voice to the women?
Yeah. It was actually based on what I suffered. You know, I married a man who I loved, and I thought he loved me, but it wasn't that. You know, and I suffered many things, and I almost lost my life. You know, so I got to the point, mine was more of the emotional and psychological abuse. And people think that, okay, that doesn't really matter so much. After all, we're not seeing bruises on your, you know. That doesn't mean I didn't have some of those, you know. So, but the thing is that it got to the point where I lost every sense of who I was. You know, I suffered depression. I used to walk with my head down, thinking that the whole world was better than me, you know. I remember sometime in England, an Englishman said to me, Jane, look up, you've done nothing wrong. I couldn't look people in the face. I always had to go down, you know, look down, you know, and I felt that the world was passing me by till the day I stood at the bridge in Manchester and I almost plunged in because I had been told several times that I was useless. You know, and what saved me was the fact that I saw my two children. They were really little, you know, beckoning on me, telling me that they needed me. It was an apparition. It wasn't real, you know, but you know, I could see them across that river and I was looking. That was the wake-up call that I needed.
And that was Lady Jane on Monday discussing gender-based violence. Before we go ahead on to Tuesday, Joshua, you're the one that took this interview.
Yes.
You know, from what she said, it seems to me like the key things that, you know, keep women down and don't speak out and don't try to leave an abusive relationship is religion and culture.
Culture, yes.
More like two sides of one coin. How was the interview for you?
It was mind-blowing. The fact that she had experienced it firsthand and then she had fought and won the battle.
Yeah, she's an abused warrior.
Yes, and now she's able to tell the story. In as much as there's still much more ignorance and limitation, because she said that it's not just even about being educated, that she has met many educated people who still have that ignorance in this aspect, having to feel the fear of where will I go to after I leave this man. And of course, again, gender violence is not just about the women as well. She gave the perspective that it's both ways. Men have suffered, and she said she wished that there were more men coming out to speak out. But, you know, for men, I think it's even more worse in the fact that, in the sense that you can't tell your fellow man that my wife is beating me.
You know, it's the thing with the male gender. You are strong, bear it, don't say, don't show emotion, don't behave like a woman. And the man is dying on the inside because their psychological fiber is not as strong as the women. So they are dying inside, they are taking to vices. I think more people should come out and talk about
it, yes. I
violence
think one of the major things she said that is very important is that governments need to start creating facilities, shelter homes, where people can actually go after they leave an abused home, be it male or female, so that...
But there's a Ministry of Social Development and Women Affairs.
Not just
Shouldn't they be tasked with this?
Not just with women affairs, a place where you can go and feel safe,
Like
and
a
your spouse
safe
doesn't,
house.
yes, your spouse doesn't get to know where you are, just in case it's a physical violence.
All right, very
something.
quickly before I get to Tuesday, I watched this viral video where a
Yes.
lady was beating up a guy.
Yes.
And not because the guy wasn't able to beat her up, but because he, according to him in the video, he was
Yes.
saying, my mother raised me well, I cannot hit you back. And this lady was just slapping him around, saying, fight back, fight back. And I'm sitting, I'm like, so I raised my son, and you will come and treat him like this?
Nah.
I will be the lady to end you. I take that back. All right, moving ahead. On Tuesday, we spoke on urban water reforms. Engineer Peter Chukwuma was on ground to give us an expose on urban water reforms. He is the MD, Imo Water and Sewage Corporation. Hear what he had to say.
We're going to be moving over to another guest. His name is Engineer Peter Chukwuma. He is the MD, Imo Water and Sewage Corporation in Imo State. He's he's going to be joining us in a conversation, urban water utilities reform. We want to get to know about things happening in Imo State and Southeast, of course. Good morning, Engineer.
Yeah, good morning.
So before we move to what we want to discuss, I wanted to get your take on this sit at home that has been in place from yesterday heading over till today. You are in Imo State, I believe. So I want you to tell us about your own experience in Imo State. How has the sit at home been for you?
Okay. I wouldn't say much because I didn't move around much. Where I'm staying is calm, nothing, no incidents, nothing is happening. So I would say that I'm not in a position to give you a very candid report on the situation because I just stayed and relaxed. I had my rest and I did my work online. And as I'm speaking to you from the balcony of my house. But generally, there is no incidents.
All right, thank you very much for that report. Let's move ahead to the topic we have here, the urban water utilities reform. So I would want to know...
Right. When you talk about the urban water utility, you're talking about the water agency that is responsible for providing potable water to the public in the urban areas. Urban areas, by our definition, entails cities or settlements with a population of 20,000 or above. I mean, the population, the demographic figure, we're looking at people 20,000 and above. We classify such settlement as urban. Now, the general problem with water supply in urban settlement, we have this issue of dilapidated infrastructures. We have water schemes that are world class, very good water schemes, but they were built several years ago. And because of poor maintenance culture in the country, these infrastructures are working below design capacity. In some places, they are not even working at all. And even where they are working, I talked about below design capacity, and this has to do with a whole gamut of problems, starting from dilapidated infrastructure and the main problem of power supply. Because water supply entails a lot of mechanized systems of pumps, compressors that requires energy. And the energy chain in the country affects water supply severely. So much. We have the problem of sometimes erratic power supply. We have power voltage outages, voltage failures, phase failures. These do affect our ability to impact the public. Urban water supply is supposed to be a 24-hour supply service, but power supply has been a major bane in the public utilities. That is the main problem in this country that we must get right if the urban utilities are to deliver on their mandate.
So how does the Imo Water and Sewage Corporation plan to reform and modernize water services in urban areas in Imo State? You've talked about the issue of power, but what other reforms are you putting in place? Is the organization putting in place, to make sure they modernize water services in urban areas?
Yeah, the good news for Imo State has been that the present administration has the goodwill and have been very supportive, because water supply is actually a very capital intensive activity. And if you don't have the support of the executive, then we'll be in a reverse gear. So the good news is that the government of the present administration is very supportive, and we are engaging in several fronts to ensure that our water supply systems are restored. We are looking at it from several fronts. One, over the years, there has been decay of infrastructure. There has been growth on demographic figures, where demographic figures are at growing infrastructures.
Well, if you've been following the case of EFCC and all of the dramas that has been, going on with it, then of course you would have a burning sensation in your chest and you would want to have a conversation. Well, we had a sensation and we had a conversation on Wednesday, and we had Barrister Louis coming to discuss corruption and anti-corruption efforts in Nigeria. Do take a listen.
We have here, talking about corruption and anti-corruption efforts in Nigeria, we have Barrister Louis Oya, a legal practitioner, publisher, independent Summit newspapers. You would want to, hear more. Good morning, Barrister. How are you?
Good morning. It's nice to have you.
I am super ready because I know you have a lot of things to say about what's happening, especially in terms of corruption. What would you say is the current state of corruption in Nigeria, and how has it, evolved over the years?
Well, I am not the only person, with due respect, who has a lot of things or complaints about corruption in Nigeria. In fact, one of my friends says the other time that Nigeria is a weeping nation, that it should be known as a weeping nation. And the citizens are overwhelmingly weeping. So corruption is that endemic problem that makes everybody who is reasonable to weep. The pattern now is that even when we talk about corruption, the leadership does not seem to, even reckon with what we are saying. They are not disturbed. They are not perturbed. So corruption has it. Before, it used to be within the civil service strata. So when you see somebody is a civil servant at any level, he is charged to a magistrate court for taking bribe or something. But nowadays, no, it's a routine thing now. It's open. From the high and the mighty, otherwise, why should we still have National Assembly? What are they doing? I used to ask this question, what are they doing? The other time, one senator was saying 14 million naira was too small. 14 million naira. If you give me 14 million naira dash, just like they take it like that, I will depose to an affidavit that I will never be poor till I die. If I become poor, the money I should pay back. Because 14 million naira in Nigeria today is a huge sum of money. It used to be in the last 10 years or 20 years, you used to have a local government that 40 million naira will be his budget. But today, a senator pockets 40 million. He says, from where? How did he get it? These are corruption, corrupt practices from everywhere. Now, there's no place. You go to any institution, tell me which one that you don't have corruption. Is it even among churches and the imams? I mean, the imams and pastors and whatever. Corruption is everywhere. So it's not something, I am saying that Nigerians should stop talking about anything. Let them take action.
All right, Barrister, according to statistics, in 2012, Nigeria was estimated to have lost over $400 billion to corruption, beg your pardon, since its independence. I mean, that's a whole lot of money, $400 billion. Now, my question is, was it better during the military regime or now? Which was better during the military regime? Of course, you were around, so you knew how it was then. Do you think corruption was better then or now?
Well, corruption is corruption, no matter. So, well, which more is more pronounced? Under the military, they were very, very corrupt. Yes, especially from the regime of President Ibrahim Babangida. He was the one who sowed the seed of corruption in Nigeria and continued. When the military, when people were fighting the military to go, there were some civilians who pretended they didn't know what was happening. They were so quiet. Then, the moment the military was eased off, they now took over and started doing whatever. So, both is more pronounced now because of no fear. This is democracy. There's a limit to how you can be harassed. People like you will shout and say, is it because he said this? So that is why more people are talking about it. In those days, anyway, again, the other side, military will come and settle you. After, if they detain you 2-3 times and you are still unyielding, they will settle you. If they can't get you, they will get your wife. If they can't get your wife, they will get your son and give it daddy. They will bribe them, give them money, give them positions. So it's more pronounced now. That does not mean that they were sent. We've never had it good. Because institutions are usually targeted. Once they cripple that institution, then they will have their way.
And that was Barrister Louis Onye and his take on corruption and anti-corruption efforts in Nigeria. And then on Thursday, we had a very interesting discussion, retail business in Southeast Nigeria. We had Oyebuchi Robert Awatu Jr. come in to discuss this topic. He is the ED, Executive Director of Ruben Group. Do take a listen and hear what he had to say.
This morning, we have the discussion talking about the retail business in Southeast Nigeria. Ruben stores, to be precise, 25. Okay, and before I introduce our guest in the studio, Ruben store happened to be one of the leading retailers in Southeastern region of Nigeria. So we want to know what's been, leading them, what's been thriving, what's been pushing them. So we have here the Executive Director of Ruben Group, Oyebuchi Robert Awatu. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the show.
Good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
Doing great.
Okay, so before we dive into Ruben store, I want to know the retail businesses in Nigeria. I want to understand what is the level of content, the local production, the local content versus the foreign contents in Nigeria's business.
I've said this before. I think it's quite low. The local production done here compared to the foreign ones, which we import every single time. I said every time what Ruben stands for is to promote as many local businesses as possible. But at the same time there are many local productions done here in Nigeria, but the problem is packaging. Problem is they don't go through the right procedures. And before you can have your products on our shelf, you need to go through the right process. You need to have NAFDAC, you have to go through the proper regulatory bodies, but they don't. But a few of them, I think for now, I still say is about 15%, which is quite poor. Most times we have people coming to us and then we get to advise them and tell them, okay, see what you have to do. You have to do this, do that, and then your product is, of good standard and it can come on our shelves or go on any shelf you want. Some people take the advice. I know someone who I spoke to like 2 years ago, and she came back strong, very strong, and now the products are everywhere. She's excited. Some people, you tell them it looks like you don't want to shelf their products, and you know, Nigerians, I think sometimes we don't take what we call it, critical
Criticism, positive criticism.
Positive criticism, that's the word. We don't take it lightly. Sometimes you tell people what to do and it becomes a problem.
So how do you think, you know, they should improve, especially the part of the government? What role do you think they should play in making sure or in supporting them to, you know, get this thing right?
I think we have a lot of creative minds in Nigeria, but I think the problem is the government too, because sometimes these regulatory bodies, they make it quite difficult for these people to get what needs to be done. You know, you have to pay this person. Sometimes they forget that if someone is new, if this is a startup, we always have to encourage them. You know, the kind of amount or payments, you know, the bills they give them to pay is a bit difficult for them. So sometimes it's very difficult. So I think 60% of the problem comes from the government, to be honest, and the regulatory bodies. But I think the companies or the individuals themselves, they have like 40% to play, which is brand your products better. Because when you talk about a supermarket, in whatever sector you are, you have a lot of competitors. So if you want to be competing with the foreign brands, it has to look good. So when a customer sees it, they can say, okay, I've never seen this before, but it looks nice. Because I think, like they say, Ndibo say, before thank you. So that's just basically what.
How do you ensure quality products at fair prices?
For the products, we have different stages. You see, that's where the procurement team comes in. That's where I come in. First of all, when you bring a product to us, there are certain, you know, guidelines. There are certain standards. It has to have, like, you know, like things like barcode, you know, probably NAFDAC number, SON, depending on the kind of product it is, you know, the manufacturing date, production date. If that's fine, if you pass that first stage where they have to, you tick all the checklists, that's fine. Then you go to the next one. The next one now is where we have to start looking into them. You know, we have like, that's an internal thing, where we think, what kind of product is this? Is this a new product in the market? How do we go about having this on our shelf? If we get it on our shelves, will it fly? If after the internal meetings we've done that and we feel like this is a good one, then we can now invite the person and he comes and you now tell us your plans, you know, what you intend to do. If it's a product that is already popular, you know, some products, a lot of products are not that popular, especially if it's local. So the whole point is to support as many as you can. It depends on what they are willing, how they are willing to market their products, because at the end of the day, we create the platform and you bring the goods, but at the same time we're giving you a platform to be on the shelf with as many people as possible, giving you the visibility, but you have to also play your part. You know, trying to do the marketing is not down to us alone.
An interesting conversation there. Of course, you can find these on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to go check it out, even on our website at www.signaturetv.org. And on our YouTube, turn on the notifications so that when interviews like this or conversations like this come up, you get to be notified. We'll go on a very short break. When we come back, we'll have a conversation that you do not want to miss. See you after this.
Well, continuing on our discussion on New Day today, we will be talking about a very important topic, talking about the brain and brain wellness. And with rising cases of dementia and Alzheimer's and, of course, epilepsy and other neurological issues, it has become imperative that we talk about this and how to maintain the well-being of this organ called the brain. And we have an important person in studio to give us insights into this topic. Dr. Fintan Ekochin. He is a consultant physician and a neurologist. He has been a one-time ENUGU State Commissioner for Health, and he is here in person to talk to us. Good morning, Dr. Fintan. How are you this morning?
Thank you very much. I'm fine.
Good morning, Doctor.
It's a pleasure to be with you here.
Can I compliment the color? It's quite catchy. Compliment your color too, your skin color.
Thank you very much. You wear something reddish when you want to make a point.
Absolutely.
When you want to rock the table.
Are you a psychologist too?
Because we're going to do that too.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So you're a neurologist, and I know there are some doctors too who identify as neuropsychiatrists, neuroscientists. What exactly is the difference?
A neurologist is a specialist doctor that deals with diseases of the brain and the central nervous system at large, without surgery.
Okay.
So by any other means, drugs, lifestyle, and all. A neurosurgeon is a specialist doctor that deals with diseases of the brain and the spinal cord via surgical procedures. That's the big difference. A neuropsychiatrist is a specialist doctor that deals with the challenges of mental health. So we talk about behavioral issues, social incompatibilities, occupational non-adjustments, childhood psychiatric problems, adult psychiatric problems. So those are neuropsychiatrists.
Trauma comes into play as well?
Which one?
Just, for the therapist, the neurotherapist.
Yeah, the psychiatrist has a team that he works with. So the clinical psychologist is part of his team.
Okay.
So these are the three broad areas, all under neurosciences.
Okay. Now you're a professional, you're a specialist, but there's someone listening to you and wants to understand. You know, if you want to prompt maybe ChatGPT or any other search engine, you say, teach me this to a dummy. You understand? We're not saying that they are dummies. We're just saying that they have zero knowledge of technical, layman. So we're going to ask you to explain to us, because you mentioned the brain and the CNS, the spinal cord.
Yes.
Explain to us what these organs mean and their importance in the body.
There are systems in the body. You have the cardiac.
Cardiac
means
heart.
You have the gastrointestinal, the stomach and intestines. You have the endocrine system, which is an invisible system of hormones that controls a lot of functions. You have the central nervous system, simply called the nervous system, which comprises the brain, the spinal cord, and the peripheral nerves and all the parts of our body.
Okay.
So it's the central nervous system or the nervous system that is the domain of the neurologist. Diseases that involve all these components of the CNS is the daily duty of the neurologist, and he approaches them from either medications, lifestyle, and other means that are non-surgical.
I'm interested in the lifestyle, but before we get to that, I want you, because right here in the studio we've talked about nephrology, kidneys, talked about hepatology, the liver, we've talked about prostate, you know, these
Talk about the
organs.
heart as
So I
well.
want you to just explain the brain as an organ in a human being.
Every specialist will put his own organ in quotes as the most important.
Yes.
So if you ask me that, I will tell you, you know, when I decided to do neurology, there's an argument that really touched me. And it said, if you say you don't want to do neurology, well, you go to do cardiology and you use your brain to study the heart. If you say you don't want to do neurology, you want to do orthopedic surgery, you use your brain to study how to amend damaged bones. So that really touched me. So that's why we will say that neurology is the nucleus of medicine.
Is it safe to say, keeping the question previously in mind, that neurology is the most difficult aspect of medicine?
Well, people believe that, and unfortunately some of my colleagues like to make it look that way. And what is the end result? The end result is that very few doctors go into that area. So I always say neurology is straightforward, and I chose it because it's straightforward.
All right.
And I'm enjoying it because it's straightforward. So I don't want to bring the word difficult.
That's all right. So go back to the brain in explaining to us exactly what it does and what it is.
You have an organ in the skull.
When you say skull?
The bone, this bone here in my head is the skull.
Okay.
So if you hit your head on the wall, it's the skull you're hitting there. So that the bone, the skull, is protecting something very special. So you can imagine. So many organs are exposed. If you stab someone with a knife, you could get the liver, you could get the kidneys. But the brain is locked up. God has designed it in a way that is locked up within a very thick, double-layered bone. So that's the brain for you. It's made up 60% of fat.
And they tell us not to eat fat.
Exactly. So when I say we'll rock the table, that's where it starts.
Yeah.
The brain is built of fat, 60%. Very, very little protein, lots of water, and nearly no carbohydrates. So if you want to maintain your brain, you have to be very careful with the fats you take into your system.
Please go into it in details.
We will. We will. So when you say brain health, actually, it's something that you cannot discuss in isolation. So you don't pick the brain and say, this is what the brain needs to be healthy. I'm sorry, but if you do it, maybe your kidney will suffer. No. Fortunately, that's not the way it is. It is a holistic approach. So when we say we want to discuss brain wellness, brain health, it's inevitably going to be a holistic, total health. So whatever is good for the brain, the kidneys, the liver, the heart, everybody's going to enjoy, even the skin, the hair, everything. So that's the good news about it. So when we say brain health, and we say that there are things we need to consider, we often overlook the mind. It's very unfortunate that all over the world, the mind has been subtracted, removed from the equation of health.
Is it because it's invisible?
Exactly. It's invisible. You can't make patterns around thoughts, emotions. You can't run businesses. You can't set up public liability companies and sell shares.
Wow.
So that's a very big challenge. But we know every day, you know, we have cardiologists emphasize type A, type B persons. You see people who, you call them hot-tempered, for short. That's what they are. And if you watch, they have challenges more with blood pressure. So the mind cannot be taken out of the equation. So when you come to neurology and brain health, the same thing happens. So if you bear grudges, if you find it hard to forgive people, it bears on your neurologic and brain health.
And the fact that I don't forgive easily can affect.
Yes.
You know, we thought
this is something that nobody talks about.
We thought that forgiveness lies within the domain of
religion.
morality and religion.
Sorry, it starts there and crosses into every other domain.
Wow.
Wow.
So
amazing.
If you have emotional issues, unforgiveness issues, you have poor sleep, your blood pressure goes up, your brain doesn't refresh at night as it should, you have nightmares, you know. So the way it affects health, it's something that's being studied every day. But one thing we know for sure is that it has a very big influence on health.
And is there a relationship between the brain as a physical structure and the mind as an invisible phenomenon?
There is. It has an institute. So listeners may wish to write down HeartMath Institute. Heart. And then maths, like the mathematics.
M-A-T-H.
Yes. So HeartMathInstitute.org is their website. They have done unprecedented research on what we call the heart-brain axis, the heart-brain connection. So we operate as spiritual beings religiously, but in the physical world, we operate as heart-brain units. So when you feel things, in English we say, it touched my heart. But we know the heart doesn't think.
Yes.
So why don't we say it touched my brain? It functions as a unit. So today, the HeartMath Institute has published studies upon studies showing how these two things work together. So when you have an emotion, your heart feels it and communicates your brain immediately. There are things you hear, your feeling changes, and you can't reason anymore. You're looking for something, and somebody says, excuse me, I'm talking to you. You don't even hear the person talk. Why? Because the heart has felt an emotion and has switched off your sensory systems for that period. So the same way about emotions, anger, joy, sadness, happiness, jealousy, envy, all these things.
You're talking emotional intelligence.
Yes. Yes. So that's just the first point. I don't want to dwell too much on it. We may have to convene another day to expand on that. But let's just know that you cannot remove the mind from the equation of brain health. That's just the point I want to make there. Now, the next thing we need to talk about is what everybody keeps talking about. Diet. Eat this, eat that.
Lifestyle.
Lifestyle.
Okay, dietary.
Diet is a part of lifestyle. And perhaps the most emphasized one. And the way everybody is a guru and advisor on diet is shocking.
Thanks to social media.
Yes. So the quacks and the professionals are all arguing. And I tell medical students at the teaching hospital, when the professional engages in an argument with the quack, the person passing doesn't know the difference anymore. Whoa. So I do my best never to engage in dietary argument with someone else. I always say this: what has been practiced by a society, a group of people, a culture, a person, and what is the outcome? Let's take it from there. So one of the biggest things in the last 5 years that I have come to see, learn, understand as a specialist doctor is that things keep changing. Let's remind ourselves, was there a time doctors promoted cigarette smoking in this world? Yes, there was.
It's possible.
No, it's not possible. Yes, there was. Go online, put Camel cigarettes and doctors' endorsement. You see pictures of adverts run in America in the 50s and 60s. Doctors promoted specific brands of cigarettes. Was there a time breastfeeding was discouraged? Yes. Women were told this and that, and then they stopped. Fortunately, like 15, 20 years ago, Well Women Clinic started, and
research or something
yes,
to support.
Breastfeeding was being promoted big time. So it was retracing the steps on an error. So in the same way, dietary advice has undergone a lot of transformation, and we're waking up.
Same thing with cholesterol.
Thank you. I'm happy you mentioned it first. I am happy. So today, I discuss a lot about what I call the exoneration of cholesterol.
Do you have papers on it already?
Oh yes, oh yes. Beyond me, so look, watch out here. In 2000, a grand journal in the world called Neurology, which is one of the big journals, published an article where there was a shocking statement there that people with higher levels of cholesterol have less stroke. And people with high levels of cholesterol that do have a stroke recover faster. It's there. If you Google neurology and say stroke outcomes vis-a-vis cholesterol levels, you'll be shocked. In 2000. So the exoneration of cholesterol has been a process for the past 20 years. And the pressure became so high that the United States Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee, US DAG or so, came out in 2015 and said something that the whole world is yet to hear. But it's published. What did they say? Cholesterol is no longer a nutrient of concern for overconsumption. I quote them.
Really?
So nobody should be telling you, don't eat this, it contains cholesterol. Nobody. The science is there, the research is there, and the guidelines from the US Advisory Committee on Dietary Processes has come out and published in 2015.
So why do you think? Why do you think that it's still much of a big deal now? Do you think people are profiting from it, or what do you think would be the reason why people still feel like cholesterol is harmful to your health?
Two big reasons. A large body is profiting from the status quo. Yes.
I was going to get there.
Yes, that's the truth.
The big farmers. Yeah.
Thank you. So they are listening and they are unhappy. But as a doctor, we need to defend our patients.
Absolutely.
We swore to offer our patients the best and to do no extra harm. So I cannot keep quiet anymore when I know all these things. If I'm a doctor and I don't know them, Fine, God will judge me that way, but I have been given that knowledge and I have to talk about it. So taking food that contains cholesterol is not going to harm you in any way. Does it mean that pathologists who are specialist doctors that cut up dead bodies don't see cholesterol blocking the artery in the heart and the brain? It doesn't. There are indeed people that die from heart attacks. Cholesterol has blocked the arteries in the heart. People that have strokes, cholesterol has blocked the arteries in the brain.
So what happened in that case?
Good. Cholesterol is a band-aid. Cholesterol
What
is
does
a
that
plaster.
mean? Okay.
Cholesterol is a balm, a salve. That
Biological.
The body, yes, the body uses it to attend to wounds internally. That's the big deal. So if there is a location in an artery that's wounded for any reason, the body deploys cholesterol to repair it.
Or shouldn't there be a feedback medicine?
There is, but if the injury keeps coming back and the body keeps reapplying cholesterol, one day the cholesterol might be too much and block. So, I mean, people always tell me, are you saying cholesterol is not blocking arteries? It does. But it arrives on the scene to protect. So I always tell people, if you peep through the windows of a hospital and you see the doctors and nurses run around the patient and the patient dies, then you see them run around another patient dies. From the window, what do you conclude? The doctors and nurses are running around killing patients. But if you're in the hospital, you will see a different picture. The patient has a problem. There's an alarm, a code. The doctors and nurses rush to the bedside and try to save the patient. The patient may be saved or may die. So you don't judge from outside. Cholesterol is a band-aid, a plaster, to cover up a wound and help it to heal.
All right.
And the body produces it in large volumes.
Oh,
so
the body produces
yes.
it, and then we take it in dietary
because it's so important,
quantity.
we eat it and the body produces it. So if you say
Wow.
you won't eat it, your body will go ahead and produce it because it's so important.
Oh, amazing.
Okay, in your introduction about what the brain is and what it does, you mentioned that it's 60% fat, right?
Yes.
Predominantly.
Yes.
Now tell us how fat, cholesterol impacts on the brain.
Okay, so at this point, we need to bring in a molecule that has been behind the scenes causing trouble. And we need to call it out today, here and now.
I'm with you.
And the name is trans fats. Have you heard that before?
Fats. In passing.
Trans fats is the molecule that has been causing trouble.
And not cholesterol.
And not cholesterol. Trans fats has been behind the scenes enjoying a lot of immunity and laughing at cholesterol for being the victim. Trans fats. So the research pointing out trans fats as the cause of damage to the vessels.
Trans fats?
Causing cholesterol to come to the rescue.
Oh, but now being the one left at the scene.
Exactly. So trans fat has been behind the scenes hiding.
Is trans fat same thing as triglycerides?
No. Trans fats, for those that understand chemistry, fatty acids that have double bonds are referred to as unsaturated. Now, these unsaturated areas of the fatty acids may become saturated in a process that drives them either to a cis configuration, CIS.
Now you've lost
or
most
a
of us.
trans configuration. Okay, see it this way. You have a double bond. You look like you're straight.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
You lose the double bond. You either get twisted, which is called cis, which the body loves, or you remain straight and twisted in a kind of parallel form. So I can draw it out, but it's not possible here. So that semi-straightened form is trans. It's something that the body does not know what to do. In fact, WHO has defined trans fats as a form of fat that has absolutely no nutritional benefit in the body. Over the years, trans fat was discovered to be the big troublemaker, driving free radical injury to the heart, to the brain, to the kidneys, to all the organs. When you say free radicals, everybody says yes, it causes a lot of trouble. But trans fat is the big driver. It's the biggest driver. So the trans fat we're talking about is coming from the diet largely. The body does not produce trans fat because it doesn't know what it is, it doesn't need it, it doesn't like it. So it's coming largely from diet.
What kinds of diets?
Diet that contains polyunsaturated fatty acids. PUFA.
In English.
So it's diet.
What are those foodstuffs?
Yes, give us an
it's
example.
Oils. Oils.
Basic granite oil.
Oils that contain unsaturated fats are oils that are extracted from seeds. So if you want to recoin the name, you say commercial seed oils.
Like sunflower oil.
Yeah, exactly. Seeds have oil in very small quantities. So if you want to extract them, you're going to go through a very, very difficult process. The heat, the pressure, the acids that you're going to employ to extract oil from seeds. Even maize has seeds, has oil,
oil.
sorry.
Oh, yeah.
So you have maize oil. These are seed oil. So any seed that has oil that is extracted in the factory is full of unsaturated fats. These unsaturated fats have a very high tendency to switch to trans fats. And that's the big problem. So the WHO has mandated in 2018 through a program that we all need to hear about called Replace. Replace, WHO Replace. Go to their website, it's there. They have a logo for it. So they try to drive it country by country, and they gave a deadline of 2023 that every country in the world should have identified the sources of trans fats, pointed it out, offered substitutes to the people, and gone ahead to legislate and enforce bans on trans fat availability in foods.
And let me guess,
Nigeria hasn't played
we're
along.
in a long...
In 2021, NAFDAC and the Federal Competition Consumer Protection Commission, have you heard about that before?
Never.
Please take note of it. FCCPC.
FCCPC.
And the NAFDAC. They woke up in 2021. That was 2 years to the WHO replace deadline. And they woke up and said a program, so make Nigeria trans fat free. That was the program. How many of you heard about it? You see? So the program tried to start in 2021 and fell into the water, and nobody talked about it. Today, as a neurologist at the teaching hospital where I work in, ESU Teaching Hospital, we admit between 5 to 10 patients every day with stroke. So if I tell you numbers that WHO put stroke as...
Did you say every day?
Every day.
What age range?
Every day. Age range, well, stroke has always been a challenge of the elderly. But in the last 20 years, it has been shifting into the middle-aged. So today we are seeing lots of people in the 50s and a good number in the 40s. And these days we are seeing them in the 30s too. So when we preach stop smoking, it has an impact, it's small. We say mind your alcohol, it has an impact, it's small. We say exercise, it has an impact, it's small. What we are not talking about is trans fats, it has a huge impact.
Okay, so let's, I asked a question before now and I said, how does fats and cholesterol, right, affect the brain? What are the indicators to show that someone needs a boost in brain power or something, for lack of a way to put it?
Yeah.
What are, because if you have, of course, maybe any internal organ issues, there are indicators that...
symptoms and
symptoms
signs.
and signs, thank you.
So we have symptoms and signs for underperforming brain function. You have brain fog. It's a term that is very poorly defined, but what does it mean? You just wake up at times and you're not clear. You're confused, you have a very low energy level, your drive is not there, you forget very basic things that you should normally not forget. So it's all these things that we just coin vaguely as brain fog. That's one big pointer. Now, if you're a student, you have academic issues. If you're someone in an office that has to remember things, you have challenges remembering them. So you have challenges in performing. And it's this kind of problem that goes ahead, progresses over years to land the person in the world of dementia, where you don't remember your children's names.
Oh. So it starts small and then becomes
exactly,
something
it starts very
big.
small. So when we do brain scans, we see early signs. We call it white matter changes. White matter changes. They are too small to be classified as strokes. But over years, they build up into monsters that rob you your mental capacity.
So what do you do when you start discovering them like that? Those tiny phases of your life where you just feel like, some people call it a blackout, I want to believe. So what do you do when it starts like that?
You have to sit down and look at your brain health. So all these things that we're supposed to discuss here, you have what we call the gut-brain axis. I talked about the heart-brain axis.
Yes.
Now you have the gut-brain axis.
Talking about the GIT?
Yes. So is there any relationship big time? You see, the brain communicates cell to cell with neurotransmitters. And when we say neurotransmitters,
could you break it down? Yes,
neurotransmitters are messengers that go from one nerve cell to the other. So they kind of jump a physical gap.
Synapse.
And they say, hey, increase what you're doing, or hey, decrease what you're doing. That's what neurotransmitters do. So if I tell you that the brain is full of neurotransmitters, you're not surprised. But if I tell you that the intestines produce far more neurotransmitters than the brain, wow. But that's a fact. Wow. Mention any neurotransmitter. Serotonin is
the feel-good hormone.
It's produced largely in the intestines.
Wow.
The brain is a small boy in producing serotonin compared to the intestines.
That's why they say you have butterflies in your tummy.
Exactly. Oh. These ancient idioms of English language have deep roots.
Wow.
So when people say, I have a gut feeling, the neurotransmitters start. So today we've baptized it gut-brain axis. So when people suffer intestinal issues, my stools are hard, I'm constipated, I have a diarrhea. As a neurologist today, I sit up immediately because I know it's going to affect his brain sooner or later.
Wow.
So you don't play with it. So if someone says, I don't like this food, I don't tolerate this food, whenever I eat it, I feel like vomiting, I am very cautious. And I ask that person, let's take it seriously. This is not something that you're just going to talk to the gastroenterologist about. In the future, if we don't take it seriously, you could be my patient. Gut-brain axis.
Now, what I'm getting is that everything that can happen can lead back to the brain.
Yes.
What are those things we should watch out for?
I mentioned brain fog.
Yes.
So that would be the commonest and earliest sign. Okay? The bigger ones is headache.
Everybody has.
Exactly. So many a times a headache is because you're dehydrated. The brain has, apart from fat, water is the next big thing there. So if the brain starts to dry up, it sends you a signal of headache immediately. And if you take some water, the headache goes.
Honestly, there's so much. There's so much.
Headache is a big pointer.
I wish we had more time. But before we run, what are some of the things that people can do for themselves to promote, health, wellness?
Brain
Some people will
wellness,
tell you, these guys that do this games, online gaming, will tell you, use this game, is good for seniors, it helps your brain.
True. Brain exercise.
Yes. What are some of the things they can do?
Helpful. What I recommend for patients who need brain exercises is to go back to primary school 1, class 1, 2, 3. You have what we call quantitative and verbal aptitudes. Those are the simplest brain tests you could engage in. You don't need electricity, you don't need a tablet, you don't need a phone, you don't need to download any apps. So that's what I recommend for patients. Indigent patients, you can't tell them to go and download apps. So you tell them to buy book 1, quantitative verbal reasoning and quantitative reasoning workbooks. So brain exercises are very helpful. So that brings us to retire and tire. There is this behavior we see in Nigeria. People retire, private sector, public sector. And then the children are like, Daddy, Mommy, you've tried for me. I want you to enjoy your life now. So they push them into this real retirement. And 5 years, 10 years down the line, they are my patients. The same children that love them, that looked after them and put them in that comfortable zone, are the ones that will bring them to me and say, Daddy, Mommy doesn't even remember my name.
Dementia. Wow.
And you now tell them, have you been using the brain? You've not.
Wow, Dr.
Use
Vinton,
it or lose it.
Use it or lose it. I love that. Dr. Vinton, we'll have to bring you back to this table because we've barely scratched the surface, and I'm sure people want to hear more about this so they can take care of their brains. I've not even gone to epilepsy and other neurological disorders, but that will be a subject for another time. So thank you so much for your insights. Thank you for coming. All right, don't go anywhere. New Day continues right after this short break. Stay with us. All right, we are still continuing our discussions, and we'll be talking about the impact of Rotary Club, of course, in social development, especially as it concerns Nigeria. From healthcare to human capital development, Rotary International has been there to support. So we're going to learn their work, their impact, and of course, the roles that they are playing in helping to improve social development. And we have an important guest in the studio to have this discussion with us. He is Rotarian, I beg your pardon, Rotarian Mazi Oha Chikujeku. He is the Assistant District Rotaract Representative Zone 10, Enugu State. Rotarian Rotaractor, forgive me. So please, introduce yourself correctly, and we take it from there.
Okay, my name is Rotaractor Mazi Oha Chikujeku.
Okay, Rotaractor.
Yes.
You're not a Rotarian yet.
No.
Okay, okay.
Before you even go, please just give us the difference. You're not a Rotarian, but a Rotaractor.
Okay, Rotarians, of course, are people who are part of the Rotary family. Rotaractor are, let's say, the youth arm of Rotary.
Okay, so it's basically an age thing, an age factor,
yeah,
kind of.
something like that.
Okay.
Okay, so you have Rotarians, you have Rotaractors,
Yeah.
and then in secondary schools and primary schools, you don't have any
Yeah, we
reach
have, in secondary schools, we have interactors.
interactors.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Then in primary schools, we have early acts.
Early acts.
Yes.
And these arms are all active.
Yeah, of course.
Do women get to have their own, name?
No, in Rotary, there is no...
There's no gender.
It's
Beautiful,
just
beautiful.
amazing.
All right, take us through briefly an overview of the evolution of Rotary/Rotaract. How did it find its way into Nigeria, and how has it evolved over, the years?
Okay, I'd say that Rotary has been part of what trying to find ways to develop our societies. I'd focus my conversation on Rotaract.
Of course,
okay,
yes.
that's fine.
So,
that's fine.
for in Rotaract in Nigeria, I've been able to work with the different institutions, developing young persons through service to humanity, different fellowship programs to train and nurture and culture these young persons to be better members of society. Yeah.
Okay, so can we be more specific? I don't know if you've been a president of a Rotaract club, or you have worked in certain capacities where you rolled out some activities or functions. What exactly are those activities?
Okay.
In what area? Healthcare, human capital development, and what is the scope in terms of geographical location?
Okay. Current ENUGU as a state is under District 9142. That is Rotaract District 9142. That is, it covers 7 states, the 5 southeast states, then Akwa Ibom and Cross River State.
Okay.
So every month, we have what we call 7 areas of focus. And every month, every Rotary or Rotaract club are meant to carry out projects according to those 7 areas of focus.
It's a mandate.
So
Those are your core values.
So yeah, of course. So every month we have this month is our community and economic development. So different clubs. We have Rotaract Club of Ikulu, Rotaract Club of New Haven, Rotaract Club of GRA, different
Under
Rotaract
District
clubs
9140.
in Enugu.
In Enugu.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
and each of these clubs either come together or individually as clubs. They carry out projects that pertains to the development of economic development of the community. Some clubs, they empower artisans. Some clubs, try to encourage businesses to grow more and, give them the platform to thrive. So like I said, every month we'll have our maternal and child health care month. That is August, where different clubs carry out different programs specific to the health of the mother and child.
Okay, so maternal and child
Maternal health care month. We'll have our peace and conflict month. We'll have education and literacy, which was last month.
Okay.
Different clubs in Enugu, if you noticed, they carried out different educational projects. Some did spelling bees, gave scholarships, projects that pertains are specific to the economic and that specific to basic education and literacy. So that is how we have every month clubs carry out projects according to our areas of focus and areas of service.
All right. So how do you get young people to be involved in what you do?
Okay. I joined Retract as a student in ESUT, right? And I would say that the way I joined, I saw the service they were rendering, I saw the impact they were making, I saw these young persons, the way they carry themselves, then most of Retract members were lost students. And you're seeing these guys dressed in their white and black shorts, and they are picking waste around the school. They are trying to help out. They are seeking out ways to better the society, and you could see that they make a whole lot of difference. So that's what attracted me. So what brings a lot of people, a lot of young persons into Retract is what we do, the service to humanity and the personal development that comes with it.
All right, talking about community development and Retract's mandate of bringing young people into the service of humanity, there's this guiding principle of Retract and Rotary, the four-way test.
Yeah.
Tell us about the four-way test and how impactful is it, or it's just something that you mime every time you come together, or it's something deeper than that? Tell us about the four-way test.
Yeah, of course, it's something deeper than that. Our four-way test is like the guiding, is like the strong arm of Rotary. And it's not just, it shouldn't just be practiced within Rotarians or Rotaractors. It's something that if everyone should practice. So the four-way test, the first is it the truth? So it only means that whatever I'm doing as a person, whatever you are doing in your business.
Sorry to take you back, I'm so sorry. Because when I read it, they said four-way test of
the things you think, say, or do.
The things you think,
say, or do. Yes. Yeah.
Please go ahead.
So, is it the truth? So before I widely in business with you, in my profession as a medical doctor, as a lawyer, whatever it is you do, as an artisan, as a businessman, watch that thing you're about to do. You think, say, or do. Is it the truth? So it all relates to the way you treat your fellow human beings. And the second one, is it fair to all concerned? So in that place where you are, when you have figured out that you are sure that this thing, this action, this thing you're about to say, that it is fair, that it is the truth. Now, is it fair to all concerned? Is it something that when you do it, you know that it involves everyone else and doesn't count some persons out of the equation? Will it benefit everyone that is concerned, right? Is it something that when you do it, let's take what's happening in our country and the political setting, will what you're about to do, that policy, that decision, is it something that is going to benefit everyone,
all stakeholders,
everyone that is involved in it?
So I'd like to ask, every club, every organization has always had something called a challenge in either implementing their policies or anything. What has been your major challenges?
I would say the challenge has always been able to work with some agencies to carry out what we do. Most of the times, probably you want to do a project and you're going to a community. How accessible is it to what you want to do? Also, because of course we're in Nigeria and the economy, sometimes it's it's trying to be able to fund all these projects we are doing. So basically, there is no a whole lot of challenges because Rotary is not like every other
club.
it's not an NGO. It's not a human.
I was going to ask you.
Yeah,
But it's an
Is it a
NGO.
club or an NGO?
So it's not an NGO.
Why is it not
Rotary-
an NGO? Because they do a lot of NGO,
NGO activities, yes.
grassroots work. So why is it not an NGO?
So Rotary is a service organization.
NGOs are also service organizations.
Yeah, but most of them, they can do a campaign or something. So why Rotary? So as Rotarians, as Retractors,
Yes.
we bring ourselves, we don't just bring our money and, we fund stuff. So as in a Rotary club, it's a coming together of people in different professions, in different careers aspects to bring service to humanity. Now, everybody in that club serves humanity with your career. As a medical doctor, we are going on a medical outreach. You already know you're part of this thing. You are rendering that service. So we don't just bring people. We do it ourselves. If I'm an expert in environment, I already know that in the month of anything that concerns environment, I bring myself, to be part of the service. So we bring our all. So it's not just a better part of the society, So because when you just help around, but we are not part of what tries to make those changes become sustainable.
Yeah. Okay, so you've mentioned a lot of lofty activities and programs that Rotary and Rotract, take part in. And I know one particular thing that is important in being able to drive your agenda, especially when it comes to philanthropy and humanitarian services, is stakeholder engagement. Now, you can't say you're going into a community without engaging the stakeholders in the community. Of course, there's the government, the traditional rulers, the religious groups, there are youth groups and things. So how does Rotract engage stakeholders so that they can have easy access to push the agenda in a particular environment or system?
Okay, I would say before any club carries out any project, we first of all go to those communities. So we don't just carry out projects because we think this community, they will need water, and we'll go there and give them water. We'll go, so when it's our water and sanitation month, you go to that community, find out what exactly they need.
Like they need assessment?
They can, yeah. So they can have a stream that needs to be cleared, and probably they don't know how or have the resources to get that stream cleared. That might be their most important need. But you might think, if you go and dig a borehole for them,
you solved their problem, yes.
You must have done, you have actually done good, but you've not solved a need. So during that need assessment period is when we get to engage with the stakeholders of those communities. This also helps to make projects sustainable, because when you are done with that project, those communities are able to own that project and help sustain it, because now they were part of the process.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that sustainability, because when you're through with a community, do you do like a checkup, what was it called now? When you go back to revisit? Yes. Okay, there are teams that
get to check on projects that have been carried out. We have different public toilets around the city that we have in some markets that were built by different Rotary clubs. They get to go back to check. And that is why, like you said, engaging the stakeholders. So they also help, because now they were part of the process that brought that project. It wasn't like we just came and dropped this and left. They were part of it. So you find out that most of the times you might not really need to go there. You could communicate with them, probably now do a quarterly checkup on the project to ensure that things are still the way you left them.
All right, so if I should ask you a direct question and say, has Rotary and Rotract, sorry I'm using it interchangeably, I think they're working for the same purpose.
Yeah, of course.
So if I ask you, has Rotary or Rotract paid you, I'm getting 100%, you say yes. Now somebody is listening, or would you say no?
No.
Let me not yes.
Yes,
Yeah. So the answer is a resounding yes. And someone is listening to you and saying, what's in it for me? Should I join Rotary? Aside the fact, yeah, we do some philanthropy, what's in it for me really? What would you say to that person?
I would tell you that as a young person, Rotary is the best place for you to develop yourself, both in capacity and career, because as a growing person in Rotary, you get to be mentored by the best in your field, because you get to meet Rotarians who are experts in what they do, who have gone way beyond you, people who naturally, for you to be able to get them to sit with you in a room, it
Ordinarily.
would cost you time and a lot of money, but you get to just meet them casually. And in a Rotary and Rotary setting, whenever we are having a function and Rotarians and retractors and in a room, there is nothing like you're a Rotarian, you're a retractor, everybody
Just as a one by
we are
then.
same. So you get to meet them, you get to network, you get to interact with them, and they always open.
Are they fellowships or training? You know,
Oh yeah, every club
training
has
programs for your members.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Can you mention one?
We have our district conference. We have peace fellowship trainings. Every club also has fellowships every month, and clubs are always encouraged to find ways to, because people coming out bringing their money, because Rotary, it's a dues paying organization. So people come and they gain value for their time and their money and themselves that they are bringing to the table. So yeah, we have different settings. We organize seminars where young persons are trained and mentored by Rotarians who are experts in different fields.
So how do I join? If let's assume somebody wants to join right now. So what's the process like?
It's quite easy. You could browse myrotary.com or rotary.com. You could browse clubs, or there are different clubs in ENUGU. We have the Rotary Club of Ekulu. They meet at ESBS, Ecstasy at ESBS. We have the Rotary Club of ENUGU Rotary Club of ENUGU GRA. We have the Rotary Club of New Haven. We have the Rotary Club of Municipal. We have the Rotary Club of
City layout.
that is a Rotary Club. We have the Rotary Club of IMT, Rotary Club of ESUT, of UNEC, of ESUCOM. So we are encouraged to join a club that is close to your proximity. So it becomes easier for you to attend fellowships and connect.
Tell us about your fellowships. What are the activities that actually make up a fellowship? And it's quite interesting that you call it
fellowship. Yes.
Until you come for our fellowships, and I hear you guys sing a lot in your fellowship.
Yeah, of course.
Please tell us.
So each Rotary Club fellowship is quite unique, because we could have a tea fellowship, we could have a dinner fellowship, we could have a fellowship discussing a particular topic. That is why Rotary is a very interesting club. You could have a fellowship talking about mental health, talking about different aspects of life. You can have a fruit fellowship. It's not always
It's
same.
not like, yeah.
We always have
variety
something.
to keep people.
Yeah, to keep people coming, to also give value for your time. Yeah. So yeah, that is basically what makes up a fellowship.
Okay. Can you sing one of your Rotary? I'm serious. Sing one of your Rotary songs. Rotaract, my Rotaract.
Okay, the song I love so much is this song called My Grandfather's Clock. My grandfather's clock was too large for the shelf, so he stood 90 years on the floor. It was taller than the old man himself, though it weighed not a penny, weighed more. It was bought on the morn, on the day that he was born, and was always his treasure and pride. but it stopped short. Never to go again when the old man died.
So what are you not telling me? Honestly, now tell me, what are you not telling me?
It's a nursery rhyme.
Yeah, it is.
It's a nursery rhyme. All right, Joshua. Do you have
Yes.
anything to-
No. I'm good. I'm
Yeah,
good.
okay.
But I know that I would love to join. Yes, I've been
have a member.
inspired.
Yeah, of
I've been
course.
inspired.
You too.
I've been inspired.
All right, beautiful. So thank you so much
Thank you for
for
having me.
coming. And love the shirt. Do we get
Yes.
one each or something so
You
we
know,
can
these
promote Rotary?
This day before yesterday was the International Polio Day. You know, Rotary has
Rotary
been
is big on polio eradication.
Yeah, started polio eradication since 1985.
So polio has already been eradicated in Nigeria.
In Nigeria is now
Polio free.
Yeah,
Polio
but
free.
we still have Afghanistan and Pakistan. That there is just two
So how
countries.
was the program?
Yeah, it went really well. It went really well. We have a time we marched around the city wearing banners and
For Afghanistan and Pakistan.
yeah, trying to a lot of so in Rotary, you know, there's nothing like where you're coming from. Funds, a lot of Rotarians and retractors in ENUGU are donating towards eradicating polio.
Even outside the
And
country.
you know, one thing is not enough to say Nigeria is polio free. It's also keeping it at zero.
Keeping it that
At
way.
zero, yeah, because if vaccinations does not continue, then definitely we are going to bounce back to where we have a lot of polio cases. So it is to encourage people to get vaccinated, because polio as of now doesn't have any cure, but is so preventable by just a simple.
Right. So I've got to ask someone who is 50 and listening to you and wants to join the Rotary thing, and the person probably didn't join as an interactor, couldn't join, probably can't join, rather as a Rotaractor.
Yeah.
Can the person go straight to joining
Yeah,
as
of
a
course,
Rotarian?
there is no
Restriction.
Process,
Yeah.
you must start from 1, 2, 3.
A lot of people didn't actually follow the process. I didn't join as an interactor. I joined as a Rotaractor. So there are different Rotary clubs. The Rotary Club of Ikulu, Independence Layout, Enugu GRA, Enugu City Center, Enugu City Layout. There are a lot of Rotary clubs you could
So
join.
at what point are you supposed to join Rotary? Because you're a Rotaractor. At what point would you say, I'm grown now, I can now join Rotary?
Well, for me personally, I would say as soon as possible, I should join Rotary.
Well, thank you very much for your time. This was really an interesting conversation, and I'm sure a lot of people have been inspired as well to want to join this course and help the community as much as they can. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you
very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll go for a very short break. When we come back, we'll be rounding up on the new day this day. See you after this. This is still New Day on Signature TV. We'll be moving over to our entertainment news right away. Do stay tuned.
Welcome, it's your favorite channel for exciting and entertaining stories. Get ready for this buzz and fun ride. I am your host, Favor Mwachi. Britain's King Charles praised the skill and diversity of the Commonwealth on Friday ahead of an official dinner in Samoa. Charles and Queen Camilla hosted a dinner and reception for Commonwealth heads of government on the last night in the Pacific Island nation. Representatives of 56 countries, most with roots in Britain's empire, are attending the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting that began in Samoa on Monday, October 21st. Charles is the symbolic head of the Commonwealth, most of them being former territories of Britain's empire. Universal Music Group on Friday released a Spanish version of country music star Brenda Lee's 1958 hit song Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree, using SoundLab's AI technology. The song was created with Lee's approval under award-winning Latin music producer Euro Bacureo. Universal Music said that the song demonstrates how AI can be used while respecting artists and ensuring their full authorization.
Rocking around the Christmas tree at the Christmas party hop. Mistletoe hung where you can see every couple tries to stop.
The ethical use of artificial intelligence in the entertainment industry has been a point of discussion after several incidents where AI-generated content raised concerns about copyright infringement on artist consent. The track's vocal was made using SoundLab's Mic Drop, an artificial intelligence vocal plugin which allows users to transform their voice into another voice or instrument. The song used the original music and background vocals while replacing Lee's lead vocals with a newly translated Spanish language vocal, created using the AI vocal model derived from the Country Music Hall of Fame member's voice. Award-winning singer Rihanna has shared her experiences of raising her two sons, Riot and RZA, with her partner ASAP Rocky, expressing her excitement and the unique challenges that come with it. She noted that she never has a dull moment with her boys. Rihanna described the joyful chaos of having young boys, saying, "The boy energy in my house is the best. It's never a dull moment. And I love when they climb onto chandeliers, and I love it when they are literally so scary that I'm forced to have fun. Them running around and me lifting them up is all fun and exercise. It works out for me and our kids." Nigerian singer Ikoshola Sarah Adirigbegigbe, popularly known as Ira Star, has said she cannot date any of her colleagues. She said her dream man is a billionaire who will sponsor her luxurious life. The 22-year-old stated this in an interview with Coco Jones for Rolling Stone's Musicians and Musicians issue. Coco Jones asked, "Would you want to date someone who's in your industry because they'll get it?" Ira Star replied, "In the dream world, it wouldn't be somebody that is in the music industry. Probably just like a billionaire on a yacht in Dubai in a thong." Famous Afrobeat musician Davido has appeared at the 2024 Lagos Fashion Week's runway. In a now trending video on the internet, Davido walked the runway for renowned designer ENUGU Moinhe. The singer, who wore a kingly outfit with a staff, cheered the audience by walking the stage twice. ENUGU Moinhe, who designed Davido's looks for his traditional wedding in June 2024, also walked the runway during the exhibition. The singer rocked a brown traditional piece from head to toe, paired with a breathtaking walking stick. This is Davido's second time on the runway, following his 2022 debut when he walked for Puma at the New York Fashion Week in a custom tracksuit. Nigerians took to social media to react to his appearance at the fashion event, showing their support for Davido. And that's the news this hour. Do follow us on all our social media handles at Signature TV News for stories that concerns you. See you same time, same station. I remain your host, Favor Mwachi. Stay entertained.
Well, that was entertainment news, and this is the end of not Signature Morning, but New Day on Signature TV. We'll be moving over to our Abuja studio. Of course, New Day continues in Abuja, and we're going to be going to Godwin. Godwin is going to be taking over from us. So my name is still Joshua Oritogu.
And I am Chigechi Agoram, and don't forget, with a new day comes new opportunities. So go out there.
You didn't say it this morning.
Opportunity.
No, say it again. Say it again. I like that your script. Say it again.
Okay, so this is New Day, and we're done for New Day. And don't forget, with a new day comes new thoughts, new opportunities, new possibilities. So go out there. If at first you tried and couldn't succeed, dust yourself up. Try again and again.
I had goosebumps. I had goosebumps. It's always a good. I like it. Well, Abuja Studio, it's your time.
Welcome to New Day, even this morning. My name is Godwin Sunday. Today we'll be talking about women in business, basically women in modeling business in Nigeria, and who's best to do have this conversation with me this morning is a journalist and also a model, but she doesn't like me calling her a journalist even on air, but I am calling her a journalist. After the show, we'll have to deal with the rest. This morning, I'm joined by Achari Okam, and she's a journalist just like myself, and we'll be having this conversation this morning. You're welcome to New Day, Achari.
Thank you so much. Well, yeah, the journalist part, we did went to school, but you know, just keep it aside. I'd rather be identified as a content developer and a model in business.
Interesting, but let's even start this conversation. Tell us what even led you to go into modeling.
So basically, what led me go into modeling is first off, I used to think, because I saw myself in the past like I'm so chubby. I used to think that way, and when people would look at me and be like, "You look like a model," and I'll be like, "Have you seen a fat model before?" So what really led me into it was the fact that when I got myself involved with models some 3-4 years ago, I had in my head that, okay, maybe this is where I was meant to be, to change the narrative, because growing up, the way I walk apparently is what people learn these days for them to be like professional models, and it was something that came with me, like it was my default setting, catwalking. Basically, they even had a name for it. I had no idea. So I struggled with that, given where I came from. I struggled with that mode of working, because it's like everybody's attention is on me when I'm working as a kid. I remember when, once upon a time, I shouldn't say this on air, but my mom thought, you walk like an old hat. And I'm like, what? Where did that come from? But those are the kind of things, and then getting, they do shakara and all of that. I tried to really change the way I walk as a child. And growing up, I kept hearing, are you a model? Are you contesting for it? And then I had to like later on, like that 3-4 years, to be like, you know what, let's look at it. What is it even? And then I got to realize that modeling was seen as, first of all, high-class prostitution. And it wasn't something that I wanted to be associated with, because once I introduced myself as a model to someone I was having a real conversation with, this human, after really having great conversation, and I was like, yeah, I'm a model. And he just put his hand right on my lap. It was, wow. I'm like, what gave you that audacity to do that? And being in that space, I felt, okay, there's a need to change people's orientation about models. That was one of the drive. And then when I fully got into it and started interacting with models, and it was like, okay, the people are out there with whatever perception that they have, but also the models are playing a key role into making people see them as what they see them. So my perception also shifted from there to models need to work on themselves in order to change people's perspectives about us. So I started to run, first off, like seminars and educative sessions for models and creatives under New Breed Africa, and oof, it was a lot.
It's quite a journey.
It was a journey. It was a journey. I started to do that, had a couple projects, and then life happened and we had to start over. So, and there was no best place to start than with Models in Business Global. And it's not just tailored towards just models or creatives, but Models in Business Global believe that every industry has its model, and you know, those individuals that set standards and inspire others to do better in their field. So we just want to celebrate those excellence and highlight their exemplary.
All right, before we even start talking about models in business and also women in modeling business in Nigeria, let's talk about that narrative which you've mentioned so far about models being tagged to be high-ranking prostitutes.
Yes.
It's a negative narrative.
Absolutely.
And it has almost nearly been there for a long while.
Oh, it's been there, I think, forever.
but then the process that leads one to become modeling or a model in Nigeria, don't you think again that process also can be one of the factors that has also enhanced this type of orientation? The agencies, the parties involved, don't you think that these are also structures that have been put in place?
Absolutely.
So let's even hear from that perspective.
Absolutely. So you say the industry, just as you rightly pointed out, about how the process plays a very key role in really highlighting those negativity as opposed to seeing the potential that a model carries, right? First off, this region that we are, Nigeria, we're not supposed, no, let me rephrase that. It's not about if we look at our tradition and our background. It's not the bikini pants background that we have majorly in Nigeria. And when we have contests or competitions, that one of the major criteria for models to be queens is put on pants and bra and come and show yourself. And as much as many are doing, trying, you know, to infuse the beauty, the brainy aspect of women, but there's so much energy that is put into the physicality that by the time this lady starts to say something that makes sense, nobody listens. Everyone can only see the body. And I believe that is one of those key roles that really taints the image of models. And to be honest, everything, I'm trying to really sound as civic as possible, because there's so much decay in the industry that you meet young people and they'll be like, I used to be a model. It is a very beautiful career. It is a business that is supposed to really show the power of women, show the strength and the beauty of the woman when she stands to communicate with all her might and her confidence intact. Because we grew up, especially from my side, from the north, there's a lot of shush, don't say that happens with women, that we're supposed to be in the background, right? But this career gives women the opportunity to be queens. But I feel like people who are bringing up all of these activities don't really sit down to really look at it. What is the duty of a queen, right? Queen does not go around roaming with pants and bra for her to be picked. Queen is royalty, right? And as a queen, your words are power. When you speak, everyone stops and listens.
Well, that's quite interesting. Let's take the conversation further and look at the narrative that also surrounds the modeling business, even here in Nigeria. There is this allegation that when people delve into modeling, it is due to the fact that they have been frustrated. So probably they've been relegated to the back door of inconsequential. So the best way for them to prove their worth is to become a model. So large number of models don't go to school. Large number of models don't get trained, and they don't get to enter into contracts. They do it out of freelancing, and that's how it stays. The promoters and the managers get all the pain even within the space. But you are in this field. How correct is this narrative?
So I think one of the reason why most models prefer freelancing is due to the tedious contracts, right? That's out there, the agencies. Some of them don't really care. They really don't care about anybody but themselves. So you can imagine, first of all, models, especially when you're just like, you haven't succeeded as a model to like build a name for yourself, you hardly would have a job that is even worth 30K. Hardly. Oh yeah. And things are not funny. So imagine getting that little, and agency gets to take either 30 or 40% of whatever it is that you make. And most of them, they don't give you training. They don't give you prior training for you to really stay grounded in what it is that you are learning and in what you said you're doing, right? You don't have that groundedness to really just embody who you are as a model. And the agencies, they don't even follow up on some of these jobs. So most models end up really being in places that doesn't serve them at all. They have horrible experiences and their agencies don't follow up. So all they want is, give me my own share. So a lot of attention isn't really given. So if I am to contract with an agency that is going to take that much percentage and that is not even doing the job, right? Because most of them don't even provide those jobs for the models. The models go scouting for themselves to get these jobs. So after you go through all of that, and then you have to now go and give certain percentage to certain agency. So it's like, you know what? Let me just do it myself. I'll just focus on myself. And so we have more of that. And the bad side of freelancing is good if you know what you're doing. You can be able to navigate. But the downside of it is that when you go through these things and you don't have a backing, because most of the people who contract these models, they would have some, most of them would rather like go for it. They would put it that if you're with an agency, they do not want you because they know what they're up to. But for those who would still go ahead and contract those who have an agency, they know that should anything go wrong, there's some sort of backing that comes from having an agency. Only that these agencies don't quite do the needful when it comes to like doing the right work.
So that narrative again on models being people that are going through one challenge or the other, models being people that are relegated to the back door of the society, that is people that become models or people that eventually want to become models. How correct is that narrative?
Relegated to the back doors, I wouldn't say that is entirely correct, but to be honest, it has some level of truth to it, judging by how I have seen models being treated with so much disrespect, to be honest.
But is that, we're looking at it from the point of view of even coming into the modeling field. People that, let's say a lot of people that come into modeling field, that is, I want to be a model. It must have been that you must have failed in a lot of things and you've been relegated the back door, and then the only saving grace is modeling.
Not particularly.
Okay.
That is not.
Do we have graduates that can just wake up one morning and say I want to be a model?
We have interesting people in the modeling industry. We have graduates. We have people doing their masters. I think. Excuse me. I think we have virtually every field in there, right? Most people do it because they love it, and I love the fact that models are taking the initiative to not focus on this career being the only source of income for them, because then it becomes harder and then you don't get to choose the kind of work jobs that you do, because everything they throw at you and you are in a space where, oh my god, I need this urgent 2K, and you just go running after every 5K offer or 10K offer. Now models are taking the initiative to start up their own businesses and continue doing the modeling from a place of love and passion. So I wouldn't say that models are those. No, they're very intelligent. They're very, very intelligent. Models are intelligent.
That's interesting to know. Again, when girls get into modeling, it's easy, but coming out of it from agencies seems like a very difficult task. I want to ask her this question because I'm curious. Do they take an oath to belong to the agencies? Do they have some form of I don't know what goes on, but it's as if most times when girls come out of agencies, they'd rather quit modeling and go into something else. And they rather would not want to disclose what even transpired between them and that particular agency. Do they do some form of, let's just hear from you, why is this narrative? It's almost the same thing in everywhere.
Precisely what I
All right.
wanted to point it out. The thing is, as with, I would say most of the agencies in the entertainment industry, there's always something wrong with the contracts. And sometimes, or most times, what happens is that people don't settle down to go through these contracts because there is some level of pressure from, oh, I need to do something worthwhile with my life, oh, this is a contract. And usually when people are coming with contract, they have these juicy offers, but there are also things underneath, clauses that if you don't have an expert to translate that to you, you would end up selling yourself.
Achari, are you sure this is with